The kitchen of the cargo vessel Stellar Harvest was Jorge Ramirez's kingdom. For 6 years, he'd fed the crew of 43 souls, keeping them healthy and happy across the void. His biggest battles were usually with the temperamental food processor or the occasional shortage of real spices. That changed when the Ricari pirates breached the hull. Jorge was midway through preparing lunch, a fusion of Earth comfort food and Altarian dietary requirements, when the ship lurched violently. His knife clattered across the deck as emergency klaxons wailed. All hands, prepare for boarding. Ricari raiders, port side. Jorge's blood ran cold. The Ricari were notorious, slavers who left no survivors if crews resisted. He could hear pulse weapons firing, the screams of his crewmates echoing through the corridors. The bridge fell silent first, then engineering. The pirates were systematically taking the ship deck by deck. In his kitchen, Jorge looked at his hands. Soft from years of kneading dough, scarred from countless small burns. He wasn't a soldier. He was 53 years old, 20 pounds overweight, and his combat experience consisted of one bar fight in his youth. But he'd be damned if he'd let these monsters take his crew. The kitchen doors burst open. 3 Ricari pirates stalked in, their insectoid forms bristling with weapons and armor. They chattered in their clicking language, probably disappointed to find only a cook. "Please," Jorge said, raising his hands, backing toward his prep station. "I'm just the cook. I don't want trouble." The lead pirate's mandibles spread in what might have been amusement. It raised its plasma rifle. Jorge's hand found the industrial meat tenderizer. In one fluid motion, muscle memory from decades of food prep, he hurled it. The heavy mallet caught the pirate between its compound eyes, dropping it instantly. The other 2 hesitated, surprised. That hesitation cost them. Jorge grabbed the pot of boiling oil he'd been preparing for fritters and flung it. The pirate's screams were cut short as he followed up with his cleaver, moving with the efficiency of someone who'd butchered thousands of carcasses. 3 down. How many more? He stripped a plasma rifle from the fallen pirates, checked the charge, and grimaced. He'd never fired one before, but he'd spent 6 years watching security drills, listening to Marines talk shop over dinner. Time to see if any of it stuck. Jorge moved through his ship like a ghost, using service corridors he knew better than anyone. The pirates had secured the main passages but ignored the maintenance ways. After all, who'd expect resistance from the kitchen staff? He found Chief Engineer Martinez and 5 others locked in a storage bay, under guard by 2 pirates. Jorge remembered Martinez's daughter just had a baby. Navigator Thompson's wife was expecting. These weren't just crew. They were family. The plasma rifle felt wrong in his hands, so Jorge set it aside. Instead, he pulled out his boning knife and a can of the special sauce he'd been perfecting, concentrated capsaicin extract, hot enough to use as industrial solvent. The pirates never heard him coming. 20 years of moving silently in a busy kitchen had taught him stealth. The knife found the gap in the first pirate's armor, right where Jorge would separate joint from socket on a chicken. The second turned just in time to get a face full of sauce. Its screams brought others running, straight into the plasma fire from the crew Jorge had just freed. "Jorge," Martinez gasped. "What are you? Saving your ass. Arm yourselves and free the others. I'm going for the bridge." "But you're just the cook." "I know." Jorge reloaded the plasma rifle with practiced movements, as if he were assembling a complex dish. "And these pendejos interrupted my lunch service." What followed became legend in the merchant fleet. Jorge Ramirez, armed with kitchen implements and righteous fury, led the crew in retaking their ship. He turned the captain's mess into a trap using improvised explosives from kitchen chemicals. He wielded his knives with surgical precision, knowing exactly where every species kept their vital organs, knowledge gained from years of preparing diverse cuisines. When the pirate captain tried to execute hostages on the bridge, Jorge put a meat thermometer through its primary heart from across the room. "Perfect internal temperature," he muttered. By the time the emergency response fleet arrived, they found the Stellar Harvest secure, 28 pirates dead, and Jorge back in his kitchen, calmly finishing lunch preparation. "How?" The rescue team leader asked, surveying the carnage. You're just a cook. Jorge plated the last meal with steady hands. No such thing as just anything on a ship, friend. Everyone has their role. Mine is keeping my crew fed. He glanced at the bloodstains on his apron. And safe. Now, who wants seconds? The story spread across human space within weeks. Military academies added it to their curriculum, noting Jorge's use of terrain knowledge, improvised weapons, and protective instinct. But Jorge just went back to his kitchen, occasionally teaching self-defense to other ships' cooks. Because in space, everyone should know how to carve more than just a roast.